Welcome to How to Mentally and Physically Prepare for the Bar Exam, brought to you by the American Bar Association and Kaplan. We're excited to have Krista Bordatto with us today to talk about how to mentally and physically prepare yourselves to study and pass the bar exam the first time. Krista has been with Kaplan since 2020, where she tutors students for the bar, teaches essay writing workshops for several bar exams, and prepares students for final exams across all MBE topics and the MPRE. She's also a legal writing and research professor, where she teaches first-year legal writing and advanced legal writing. She graduated magna cum laude from St. Thomas Benjamin L. Crump College of Law and is retired from the U.S. Army. Krista, will turn things over to you.
Thank you so much, Tracy. So it's nice to meet all of you. I'm really excited to be here today. And before we get started, I just want to say congratulations. Congratulations on getting to this spot where you're getting ready to prepare for the bar. Law school is not easy and not for the faint of heart. So congratulations. And I know it may seem a little bit overwhelming as you roll into final exams and graduation and bar study, but I think it's also important just to give yourself a little grace and to appreciate how much work you've already done. So with that being said, let's talk about how you can actually maximize your success in the bar by really taking some time to prepare before you ever get started. So today I just want to talk about how do you prepare to study? And maybe you never thought about this before in law school exams, right? Classes ended and you just started studying. It's a little bit different with the bar exam. It's really easy to get overwhelmed with just, the amount of material that you need to learn before sitting for the exam. And also it's kind of overwhelming just to think about the length of time that you're now going to be studying for the bar exam. So we're just going to talk about, how do you prepare to study and deal with all these different things that you've never done before. So this is the agenda. We're going to get oriented with our prep course. We're going to talk about time management, the support you're going to need, and really just some healthy habits that will help you feel your best as you go into the bar. So let's go ahead and really just start talking about your bar prep course. So whatever course you're starting with, the first phase of preparation just really starts with becoming familiar with that bar prep course that you're going to use to study. And I know it may seem counterintuitive. It might just be easy, I'm just going to log in and I'm going to start studying. Well, maybe you're going to do that. But for a lot of students, that can just be hard. It can be overwhelming. It can be confusing. So there's a couple of things I just want you to think about and that you could really do today if you wanted to make sure that you're really prepared on that day one of study time. So before bar prep starts, I just want you to have these things in your mind. Do you know when your course is going to begin? It's really essential to make sure that you start your bar prep on time or potentially early if you have something that's going to interfere with your studies throughout the course. It's also important to know, when is my bar prep course fully open? Can I go in and access everything today, or when is that date? Just to know that, if you wanted to go study, you can. If your course is going to provide you physical books, do you have those already? Was everything included in the box? Do you know what each book is used for? Have you logged into your course? That's really important. Do you know your username or password and how to navigate all the features? Do you know how to get to the syllabus or to do multiple choice questions or an essay bank? All of those things are really critical in your course, and it can really add to your stress as you're trying to study if you're trying to find something and can't. Do you know about any important dates in your course? Do you know kind of when the final exam is, when the midterm is? Those are blocks that you're going to want to be able to study in a larger amount of time than maybe you will do on your typical day, because they're really going to replicate what the bar exam is going to look like. So you're going to need to really set aside some time for those days. So it's important to know, when they are, so you can go ahead and put that on the calendar and you're going to have the time to do that. And then finally, make sure your course doesn't have any important dates that you're missing out on, such as, is there an essay submission cutoff? Really important, just as kind of you manage your expectations as you move through all of the modules in your bar prep course. So again, that's just really where you can get started. And those are things you can really do today before you go to graduation. Just log in, make sure you know everything is, and that'll just help you feel that much more comfortable when you sit down for day one. Okay, so I want to move on to really talking about time management. And I know you've probably heard that time management is so important, but it really is. And it's not just important for your length of study and making sure that you're able to do all of the assignments each day or each week, but it's also important on the bar, right? We want to be able to make sure that we're answering all of the questions and the essays within the time allotted. So it's really twofold. And people who practice good time management really find that they're more productive, you have more energy to accomplish things, you feel less stressed, and you have more free time to do the things that you want. And in turn, you're going to get things more done and probably feel better about yourself as you go through the process. So, of course, it's good to be good at time management, but how do you actually do it? And I really want to focus on step one is really kind of getting organized. And it's mental and physical organization. You know, physical is maybe somewhat of the easier one. And it's just having a plan. Do you know where you're going to do your studying at? Is it a quiet place? Are you going to study at home? Are you going to go to school every day? Have you accounted for traffic if you are going to travel to someone else or any potential interruptions? You know, are you doing it at work? Will there be any type of distractions? Is there a tidy place, you know, with a comfortable chair and a nice desk, someplace that you're going to feel good, feel physically comfortable at when you start studying? The having a nice, clean, quiet workspace is really going to be your best bet to making sure that you're able to maintain your focus as you go through these lectures. And then mental preparation for the bar is really key. You've never done this before. It's not like preparing for a law school exam. It really is a marathon. It's not a sprint. I call law school exams more of sprints because you really get in there and somewhat cram for each exam and then dump and go to the next one. The bar is completely different. You can't cram for the bar exam. There's so much material and nuances and skills that you need to develop while you're studying that it's so important just to have that in your mind as you go into it. But it's challenging and you need to have a plan. So let's talk about how you develop that plan so that you're really set up for success. All right. So you're going to have bar prep, right? But life doesn't stop just because you're doing bar prep. There's a lot of things that you're going to need to get done during bar prep. And I'm not just talking about, you know, all the different assignments and studying aspects. I'm talking about everyday life, the things that normally happen. It's important to think of a plan about how you're going to deal with those things before you start studying. You know, without a plan, your ability to study can really be impacted by, you know, stress. And we want to make sure that, you know, although it is a challenging process, you have all the tools you need to succeed. So I really like this method. It's called the ABC method, and that's how I really use to prioritize, and a lot of my students use it. And it's not something that you have to do every day. Maybe you do it on a weekly basis, but it's also something that can be used kind of in that spur of the moment if an emergency or a crisis happens, to see, you know, how much time do I have to allot to this thing? And it's simple as it's ABC. So you would categorize things as A as those things that you have to do. They're high priority, they're very important, they're critical. It's something that maybe has a deadline or an immediately needs to get done, you know, kind of that high stakes item. And then there's B. Those are the things that you should do. I categorize those as like a medium priority. They can be quite important, but they're not really as critical as A. Maybe they don't have as near of a deadline. But they're still important to spend time on doing and completing. So it's those should do items. And then you have C. Those are your not so important, nice to do things. So they're low priority. Maybe there'd be a few negative consequences if you don't get them done, but those really are the low stakes items. So again, you can do this on, you know, a daily basis, a weekly basis, a monthly basis. But you can also use it in, you know, the heat of the moment if an emergency happens. Is it something that's critical? Is it in that A category that you have to deal with right then? And that's really important just to think about those things, because if everything is important, then nothing is really important. So and the other thing to think about is, you know, is it important to somebody else? Is it important to you? And where does it fall on that spectrum as well? So the other thing, how you can incorporate this is really developing a schedule, right? So this can be a daily schedule, a weekly schedule. I think you should really think about both. So, on a weekly basis, are you studying Monday through Friday? Are you studying Monday through Saturday? I would say don't plan on studying Monday through Sunday because you actually need time to take a break and to let your mind relax. But it's more than that, right? What time are you studying every day? Are you starting at 8 a.m. sharp, or do you need to, put into account any type of commute that you have? And when are you stopping? So it's important to have those types of things in your mind, because this isn't just study at your own convenience, really. You have to have a schedule to make sure that you're putting in the allotted time to get through the lecture series and to do all the assignments, to make sure that you're staying on track to be prepared for the bar. So start time, end time, but you also need a meal time and break times. So meals are really, really important during bar prep, and maybe you didn't meal prep or plan ahead when you were in law school, but it is going to be important during bar prep because you're not going to have a lot of time during your lunch break to go in and make a 4-course meal. So it's important to kind of either set stuff aside or at least have an idea of, hey, what am I going to eat for lunch? What do I have? And also, I would say concentrate on some things that make you feel good. We probably wouldn't want to eat something if you're going into a lecture that's going to make you feel super sleepy. The not so fun things, chores. When are you going to keep up with the household chores? When are you going to do the laundry or the dishes or the things that have to be done? It's important to put those in your schedule as well. This is bar prep, but again, everyday life is still going to go on. So you have to make sure that you're accounting for the things outside of bar prep that are still important to get done. The fun part, the hobbies, the fun activities, those should also be in your schedule. Like I mentioned earlier, you can't plan to schedule Monday through Sunday. You're not going to be able to absorb all of that information if you don't give your mind a break. We also want to make sure that you're kind of managing your stress level, and doing something fun or something that you enjoy is very, very important throughout this process. Even if it's going to the gym or taking the dog for a walk or meeting a friend for coffee, any of those things are perfectly acceptable during bar prep, as long as you can put them on the schedule and you're still getting your assignments done. So scheduling. Don't schedule down to the minute. I want you to focus on creating a realistic schedule and sticking to it. Schedules, they really shouldn't be overly ambitious. We don't want them to create additional stress. It's supposed to be a stress reliever. And really your bar prep course has its own schedule, and it's really meant to keep you on track as well. So follow your bar schedule, keep up with assigned tasks, get your chores done, but also do things for yourself that make you feel good as well. And the last thing I want to say about that is, our brains and our bodies aren't really wired for sitting there for prolonged periods of work, which is kind of what you have to do during bar prep. So it might seem like sitting at your desk for 8 hours is the best way to get all of your work done. But it may not be. You might find yourself, seeing things shiny out the window or getting distracted easily. So I would say there's a lot of research that talks about, the most productive work cycle tends to be about 50 minutes of uninterrupted work, followed by a short break after that of 15 minutes or so. So it's probably not realistic to kind of structure your schedule, every 50 minutes, take a break. But you definitely have to build break periods in there, whether it's just to get out of your chair and walk around the room, just something, go get a drink of water, whatever you need to do. That way you can give yourself a second to relax and to reset before you go into the next set of learning material. Okay. So build in those breaks. It's really important. Okay. So we want to make sure we're managing our time. Let's talk about the things that can really hinder our time management. And those are those electronic devices and social media. I don't know about you, but it's very easy to, pop open my phone and look at something. And then before you know it, a lot of time has passed. And that can make you get behind in your bar prep studies. So it's important just to think about those things ahead of time. You should probably, think about times of the day that you would want to check those, and maybe how much time you're going to allot yourself. We'll talk a little bit next about the support you're going to need and how to manage those expectations. But I would say it's probably something that you should get in your mind that, you're not going to check your phone every time it dings, or you're going to put it on silent or something like that. just so that you don't get distracted and get behind. The other thing I want you to do is, as you're kind of implementing all of these things, I want you to think about, am I getting everything done? And not in the big sense of, am I prepared for the bar? Am I getting 100% all of my quizzes or anything like that? It's just, did I make a schedule? Is it working for me? Am I getting bar prep done? Am I getting the other things done? And if it's not working, feel free to adjust it. This is your schedule. This is your time to prep for your bar exam. Everything is supposed to be completely customizable to you. So don't feel like you failed if you didn't follow your set schedule for the week. It's really, did it help me get everything done? And if it didn't, how can I adjust it? Do I need more time to do such and such, etc.? Okay. The other thing I will say with that is with a lot of these things, it can be really easy to kind of get distracted during the day because some of the lecture series, probably like some of your courses in law school, maybe weren't the most exciting, or you weren't interested in them in the way you were with other courses. And so you might find those lectures a little bit harder to get through. And so you might find yourself distracted or not wanting to sit down. And I'll tell you, we've all felt like that. And sometimes it's really frustrating to know that you have to get something done and then you sit down to do it and then you lose focus. So it really takes time for your mind to be fully immersed in activity. And so I wouldn't give up as soon as you sit down and feel like that. Study is shown, it takes 5 to 20 minutes to really get immersed. So even if you feel distracted, if you kind of force yourself to sit there, trying to do the activity for 10, 20 minutes, chances are much higher that you can actually become focused and sustain that focus with just a little bit of effort. So I would say, give yourself a little grace as you go through this. Understand that, bar prep in general is not the most fun thing to do. And there are going to be times that the material is a little bit harder to get through than others. It is that way for every student, but, sit down, try to get through the material, try to regain that focus so that you can stay on track. And if it's not working, get up, give yourself a minute, take a walk, clear your head, and then sit back down to refresh. Okay, so one of the things that I think are really most important to really mental preparedness as you go into the bar is the support of your family and friends and all the other people in your life. Bar prep is mentally exhausting, and really the more support that you have in your corner, the better a chance you're going to have at maximizing your preparedness and really your overall success in the bar exam. And I think it's important to note, we may want and expect unconditional support from friends and family, but bar prep can also be difficult for them. They may be used to having a lot more interaction with you or having you being available to them. And that can't really happen in the same manner during prep. So I think it's really important just to set those expectations with friends and family before you even start prep, so they kind of know what to expect from you. And it's important because unless all of your family has done bar prep or all of your friends have, gone through this before, it's hard to know exactly what it is and the time it's going to take until you're really in it. But I think it's important just to let them know, like, hey, this is my schedule for the week. I'm going to be really busy during bar prep. It's not that I don't care about you or love you, but this is where my attention's going to be. And I really hope that you can support me through this process. It's good to let them know your general schedule, right? Are you going from 8 to 5 every day? And then from 5 to 7, maybe you're doing your chores or whatever. Maybe that's a good time for them to contact you. If they want to check on you, send you a text message, or maybe give you a phone call, that would be a great time to do it. But it's important to let them know, like, hey, I'm not going to check my phone all day. So if they're sending you 50 text messages and you're not replying, they don't get worried either. And this one may be a little bit harder for some. It's important to let your friends and family know that you're probably going to need their support. Going through bar prep, although you're physically doing it for you to take the test, you can't do it by yourself. You're going to need those cheerleaders. And it doesn't have to be anybody that knows anything about the bar exam or what you're going through. It can just be that person to say, hey, are you doing okay today? Did you get all your stuff done? And that person can really be an accountability partner for you. It doesn't have to be somebody that's going through bar prep as well, but just somebody to check in on you and make sure you're keeping up with your with your studies and all of the different activities that you have to do, all the tests, all that stuff. And it's just good to have somebody in your corner sometimes just to say, hey, it's going to be okay. You're going to get through this, and just to remind you why you're doing this and how much you've already accomplished. So I would think about who that person could be for you. And then just in general, how are you going to tell your friends and family that they can support you? And then also give them some kind of, expectations of you. And hopefully what they'll give back to you is support and love as you go through this. So with that, I want to talk about just some more healthy habits that I think are important as you go through here. Sleep. You can't study 24 hours a day. Believe it or not, you really can't. I often tell my students, I did a lot of studying in my bed so that I could take a nap as needed. And sometimes you just need to do that. It's really important to, go to sleep and wake up at the same time every day so that your body feels refreshed and ready to begin the next chapter. But more importantly, if you're not getting enough sleep, you're not going to be able to retain all this information. So while you may be able to spend 12 hours studying, you may not retain all of that information that you just spent all of that time doing. So it's really important to make sure that you're sleeping and you're sleeping well and you're keeping a consistent schedule so that you can be your best self every day when you sit down to study and then also when you sit down to take the bar. Diet, right? We talked a little bit about mealtime. But I just want to reiterate, it's really important to eat things that make you feel good and to have them readily available. So if you can do any kind of food prep or menu planning ahead of time, maybe you do it on the Sunday, it just makes things a little bit easier. Exercise. I'm not talking about we're joining a fitness competition during bar prep. If you're not a gym rat, it's completely fine. But just getting out and taking a walk, taking a dog for a walk, or doing something active that you like, going for a bike ride or anything will make you feel better. Keep your mind and your body active. Remember that even though you're going to be sitting for a lot of time, that in itself, it can be really hard on your body. So it's important to keep your body moving. And if you want to go take a walk around the block to do some studying at the same time, that's great too. And then with this, I just want to talk about some positive self-talk. I think that we all have times when we get really frustrated, especially after, studying so much and taking a quiz or doing an essay and then not maybe doing as well as you thought you should. It can be really frustrating. And those intrusive thoughts about, maybe this isn't for me, maybe I can't do it, can really start to interfere with how we feel about ourselves and how we feel about our progress. So I would say the biggest thing that you can do for yourself as you go through this is if you start letting those thoughts creep in, just to push them back and remind yourself that you've already accomplished so much. And it's not just going through bar prep, it's all the work that you did in law school. It's all the work that you did in undergrad. It's the culmination of all of your accomplishments into this point, and that you're going to do it, right? You're going to pass the bar, you're going to become a lawyer, and you're going to be able to zealously represent, these clients that need you. So again, if you feel those thoughts coming in, just do something, distract yourself, think positive, maybe even if you have to write down, 10 positive things about yourself, just something to kind of snap you out of it, because it is challenging. It's physically challenging, it's mentally challenging, and I'm going to make sure that you give your best self as you go into the bar exam. Okay, so I know that's a lot of material, and I just want to kind of give you an overview, right? So I want you to know your resources, everything that you have at your disposal, and how to use it as you move into bar prep. I want you to start early. I don't want you to procrastinate. It takes a little bit of time to get adjusted to being a bar student as versus a law student. So that, especially that first week you start studying, can feel like a lot. So you might feel yourself, feeling more exhausted than normal. But again, just give yourself grace. Manage your time, adjust your schedule as needed. This is your prep course. This is your bar. Just figure out what works for you and stick to it. I want you to lean on friends and family. Don't be afraid to ask for help. Even if it's just phoning a friend saying, hey, can I vent to you for a few minutes? I don't really need you to say anything, but I just need to get this off my chest, or that person to say, you can do it and everything's going to be okay. I want you to stay healthy, mind and body through this process. It's really hard. And then finally, I want you to trust the process. You're not going to learn all of this material at once. There's no way, again, you're going to be able to cram all of this stuff, and you may study stuff and forget it and have to study it again. And that's okay. It's really a cycle, right? It's you're going to learn something, you're going to practice it, you're going to review it. And it's that circle that you're just going to do until you get to the bar exam. So trust in that and trust in yourself as you go through this, because it's a tried and true process for bar prep. Do the things your course tells you to do, take care of yourself as you go through this, and then you will be on that other side with that Esquire behind your name. So I hope these things are really helpful to you. If you have any questions specifically for me, you can always reach out. Here's my email. I'm always willing to talk to a student as they go through the bar, because again, it is a really, really hard process, but I want to tell you good luck. I think you're going to do amazing, and congratulations for getting this far in your legal career. And I can't wait to see everything that you're going to accomplish. Thank you so much.
Thank you all for joining us, and a special thank you to Kaplan and Krista. We wish you the best as you finish up your law school and prepare for the bar exam. Take care.